Good morning, afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Opportunities for Internationalization in Canada webinar. It's a pleasure to have you with us today for this exciting event, which marks an important partnership between the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Canada and the Resist Eurocluster. Together, we aim to explore and provide valuable insights into the growth opportunities for European companies, particularly in the mobility, transport, and automotive sectors in Canada. We will be covering a range of topics from market insights and internationalization opportunities to real-life experience from European companies already established in Canada. I'm sure that this session will offer a plenty of valuable takeaways for you. So before starting, let's go to see a quick view of the agenda for today. We will start with an introduction of the Resist Eurocluster and then a second introduction of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Canada by and also from the Infrastructure Committee. Then we move on to an overview of the mobility, automotive, and transport sectors in Canada. And finally, we will have a panel discussion with three different companies, European companies established in Canada. We will have Sener, ACCIONA Infraestructura, and also Indra Group. And finally, we will have also a takeaway from the Resist Internationalization activities and a section of Q&A. Please, during the event, mute yourself, and then when we were at the final part of the Q&A, you will be able to ask your questions, write down your questions in the chat, or also you can raise your hand and intervene speaking if you want. So we start with this webinar. The first part is the presentation of the Eurocluster Resist. We have with us Auriane AGARD, the coordinators of the Resist Eurocluster. Auriane, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Álvaro. And hello, everyone. So I'm going to start with a presentation of the Eurocluster Resist. Just to let you know, so I'm Auriane AGARD and I am working at Pôle Véhicules du Futur, cluster located in France. And so, yeah, so just to present you a little bit the project, and which is thanks to this project, we could make this collaboration with the Spanish Chamber of Commerce. So Resist project is called a Eurocluster, which is a program which was launched by the European Commission in 2022. And its main objective, the main objective of Euroclusters is to respond to the European Union industrial strategy. And it's there are projects who are involving European clusters. And yeah, they focus on specific industrial ecosystem. Some work on specific industrial ecosystem, but others are working on multiple ecosystem. But in the case of Resist, we are working on the automotive ecosystem. And the project started in September 2022, and it will end at the end of this month. In February 2025. And its main objective is to support SMEs, startups, and very small businesses in the green and digital transition, but also to support, to increase their resilience regarding upcoming challenges. And for that, we have 1 million euros called Cascade Funding to help SMEs. So yeah, and in the project, we are 5 partners. So the coordinator, so us, Pôle Véhicules du Futur in France, But we also have two other clusters from the automotive ecosystem. So SEAGA from Spain, from Galicia, and Autoplast from Czech Republic. But we have also two other partners who are from the digital and manufacturing ecosystem. So we have BIZAP from Austria, and finally we have IDEA from Spain, from Zaragoza. So then next slide, please, Álvaro. So we work on 6 specific objectives. Our aim is to finance. So as you know, our aim is to finance SMEs in those 6 specific objectives. First, regarding training. So we offer funding for training for SMEs. Then regarding networking, for example, if a company wants to participate in an event in Europe, they can get funding thanks to Resist. Then we have the objective of Go International that also Álvaro will present at the end of this webinar. To participate to events in the world outside of Europe. And then we have also adaptation to technologies. So we offer support to SMEs for coaching and mentoring services. And finally, our biggest objective also is to encourage innovation. Because we offer funding as well to SMEs for them to develop innovation projects regarding the automotive ecosystem. And that's all for my presentation regarding Resist. I think that now we have the presentation of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Canada. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Auriane. Next, I'm pleased to introduce Rosa Tijeras, the president of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce Infrastructure Committee, who will share more about the work of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce and how the Infrastructure Committee is supporting the Spanish companies looking to enter into the Canadian market. Rosa, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Álvaro, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Let me start the presentation of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce with my personal experience in the Chamber. I arrived 7 years ago to Canada, and I didn't know anyone, but my husband and my kids. I don't have clients, I don't have partners, I started a small company, and one idea that I have was to join the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in events, in the gala. And I have to admit that was really a good idea, and this has helped me a lot to expand my business. And after 7 years, 8 winters, I count in winters, I am here doing this presentation with my small company, still small, but making a living of that. Okay, so today I will introduce you what we do in the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Canada. I will explain first of all our mission, who we are, what we do, reasons to become a member, the type of membership that we have, also the 2 committees that we have recently created, and the many events that we organize along the year. The mission of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Canada is to promote and facilitate economic relationship between the Canadian and the Spanish businesses, communities, as well as to foster the interest for investment and cultural interchange. Take into account that in the Camera, we are represented not only Spanish companies, but also Canadian companies. Who we are? The Chamber was founded originally by a group of private individuals and Spanish companies, and for us it's a meeting point and reference to tackling questions related to commerce, technology, economic, science, industry, and culture linked to Canada and Spain. It's worthy to say and important to say that the Chamber was created with the support of the Embassy of Spain in Canada. We do many things along the year. We promote trade relationship between Canada and Spain. We promote networking, essential, especially for the small companies that we have today in this event. We encourage and support the organization of fairs, conferences, seminars, and events. We organize events like this one and webinars like this one. Okay? We promote institutional support that will enhance relationship between Spain and Canada. We have a website, important because there are a lot of information there. I will talk later about this. We promote the diffusion of economic and commercial studies, reports and surveys, and we publish content in social media, especially in LinkedIn and Twitter. In this slide, I'm presenting you the board of directors. Our president is Carlos Planelles, that we are lucky to have him today in this event. He's also the ACCIONA managing director for North America. Our vice president is Bárbara Carmona. She is the chief representative officer at CaixaBank in Canada. Our treasurer, Alejandro López, that is the country manager in Canada for Duro Felguera. Alicia Somani, who is the managing director, one of our directors. She is the managing director of the IE University in Canada. Patrick Nudon is from the Jardin Group, has 25 years of experience as senior manager at the Jardins. Juan Carlos Suárez, who launched Zavala Civitas Canadian operation in Toronto. Eduardo Indra, who is the Vice President of Técnicas Reunidas branch in Canada and also Business Development Director for North America, Técnicas Reunidas. And finally, Antonio Hernández, who is Business Lead for Grupo Cartago in Canada and USA and the Honorary Consul of Spain in Alberta and Northwest Territories. So reason for become a member, I think I explained at the beginning of the presentation, many of them, especially for a small company, and this is important. Because basically we promote a lot, we do a lot of networking along the year. We provide contacts and business. We do referrals to members. We co-hosting and sponsoring events, invitation for networks event. We contribute with articles in social media. Definitely networking for you as a small company to be a member. There are different types of membership. This one is the trusted membership, is like the highest level of trusted membership and is designed for organizations seeking maximum visibility and influence in the market. Here you have the companies that are trusted members, ACCIONA, CaixaBank, Hatch, TIPSA, Zafir, you can see here. The next step for the membership is Platinum. It's more for organizations with more than 15 employees and companies listed in the stock exchange market and looking for visibility also. You have here, for example, Sener, that is also here in today's panel of companies. Gold membership, perhaps is the membership that best match with a small company and is designed for medium and small organizations with less than 15 employees. That, as I said, small companies looking for visibility also and for networking. And finally, professional membership that is designed for independent professionals looking to consolidate their place in Canada. And recently, and because we have a lot of companies inside the Chamber of Commerce in the infrastructure market and also in the agro-food market, we create two committees. Infrastructure Committee, I am the president of the infrastructure with Luis Carrera, who is the vice president, and the Agro-Food Committee. Both committees, the purpose of both committees is create a common place where the companies in this sector share these opportunities, we discuss and we exchange best practices in these areas. And we do many things along the year. We are starting now, but we have an action plan designed and we are trying to promote the study, we do networking. Sorry? Yes, we promote commercial development between Spain and Canada, and we promote the surveys of legislative interest. In the next slide, I will talk more in detail about the Infrastructure Committee. These are the members of the Infrastructure Committee. In total, we are 16 companies. As you can see here, we are not only European companies or Spanish companies, we also have ACON, construction company, Canadian construction company, ACOM, Hatch, but we also have ACCIONA, of course, as construction companies, Zafir, as designer, we have Sener, we have TIPSA, Delta, EWE, IDOM, so also CaixaBank. So this is the panel of companies that we are in the Infrastructure Committee. Next slide, please. Yes. And along the year in the Spanish Chamber of Commerce, there are multiple events. Seminars and webinars like this one, conference and symposium, forum, exhibition, membership meetings. The annual gala is our big event, the trade mission and trainings. As I said, gala is our big event. Is celebrated in the Casa Loma, a very special castle here in the city of Toronto. We are welcome we are always come with the Spanish ambassador in this event, and also depending on the year with the minister. In this event we come with the King Azuma, Minister of Infrastructure in Toronto, in Ontario, and also with the we have in total, usually we are 200 people with the principal CEOs of the Spanish the companies in the Spanish chamber, as you can see here. But there are also multiple events. Some of them are webinars where we talk about the taxes or the exchange practice between European and Canadian market. We celebrate in the Wine Academy our winter cocktail. We do networking with other chambers, many events along the year. And finally, I want to, all the information that is explained in this presentation is you can find in our website. And also, and for you, there is a link to docs and links where you can find a lot of information about legal issues, safety issues in the Canadian market. So I invite you to visit our website and check all this information. And finally, thank you so much. I go a little bit more than 5 minutes, sorry for that. But we are welcome you in the Chamber of Commerce in Canada. I hope you can see you in the next event. Thank you so much. And I give you the floor, Álvaro. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosa, for your insights. Now, we are fortunate to have Ignacio Mezquita, the Trade Commissioner at the Spanish Chamber, at the Spanish Embassy in Canada, with us. Ignacio will walk us through an overview of the mobility, automotive, and transport sectors in Canada, highlighting the key trends and opportunities for European companies. Ignacio, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank the organizers of this webinar, resist the Eurocluster and the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Canada for their invitation. I'm supposed to give an overview of mobility, automotive, and transportation sectors in Canada, which is quite ambitious in 15 minutes. So I will make some general remarks on the current economic situation of Canada. I will refer to the transportation sector. I will make some specific considerations on urban transit, which is particularly relevant in Canada. And I will make also some considerations on the automotive industry and the zero-emission vehicle, which now is under some uncertainty after the initiatives taken by the US government. And I will also talk about the a very important infrastructure project, the high-frequency rail, which, contrary to the previous sector, counts on a very wide political support and is likely to succeed in the following years. No? So my goal is just to make some general remarks, starting from the fact that I think that you are well aware of the political situation in Canada. It is just to sum it up. Recently, the 6th of March, of January, the Prime Minister announced he was about to resign as leader of the Liberal Party, and as a Prime Minister, once a new leader of the Liberal Party was elected, which is the election is bound to be held on November the 9th. Federal elections are due on October, although many observers claim or consider that there could be advanced or maybe could take place maybe in May, although this is uncertain yet. And in the meantime, the Conservative Prime Minister of Ontario has called elections as well in Ontario for the weeks to come. So all these political cycle in Canada coincides in time with the initiatives of the Trump administration in the US. And we have, the impact of this electoral cycle, domestic electoral cycle, the lack of parliamentary activity, together with these initiatives that you have all read in the media concerning tariffs and some other things that require a response, and that also that leads to some noise, and it will take some time to give a response, to have a clear analysis of what is going on, although uncertainties have turned up. No? So first slide, please. A good starting point to see where we are is for instance, the full economic statement issued by the government last December. The government acknowledges that Canada faces some problems such as housing affordability, among others, but it is on a good track. GDP growth projections stand out among G7 economies. Inflation has been brought to the targets of the central bank. Canada can boast of really good figures when it comes to fiscal and particularly net indebtedness, public indebtedness. That is to say, they have a huge fiscal margin that's important for infrastructure. And Canada happens to be one of the two G7 economies that enjoys, whose public debt enjoys from the AAA rating. Only Germany can also shares also the same condition. And for sure, Canada has been for a number of years an important pole of attraction of FDI, or foreign investment, which for sure gives to understand that for investors is a credible country. So all in all, we have what we have here is Canada is a trading nation with only 0.5% of world population. It accounts for 2% of global GDP and 2.5% of global trade. 3/4 of their exports, in good exports, end up in the US, and half of their imports come from that country. You have here some figures. I will only want to point out the fact that when it comes to analyzing whether Canada is the main source of the US trade deficit or not, keep in mind this. China accounts for 25% of the US trade deficit in goods. The EU accounts for 20%, Mexico 15%, and Vietnam is roughly above 10%. So these four jurisdictions together account for 70% of total deficit of trading goods by the USA. And Canada only accounts for 5.9% of such a deficit. Canada is the second market of the US for exports. If we take the EU as a whole, if we only consider individual countries, Canada would stand out as the main export market for the US. Both economies are clearly very interlinked. So when we talk about these tariffs and so, what are we talking about? Well, this is some estimates published by the Bank of Canada, the central bank, last January in their monetary policy report, on the grounds of some assumptions that do not exactly coincide with what is being launched by the Americans, but other economic services of different banks, Royal Bank of Canada, BMO, TD, or so, they have their own analysis as well. But let me just point out several issues. First, there are other steps being taken or studied by the new US administration beyond tariffs. We are talking about defense expenditure, migration and border control, energy and climate change, and a large trade dossier that does not stick to tariffs, but it also covers discriminatory taxes for US corporations, for instance, digital taxes, or exceptions to tariffs agreed 5 years ago when it comes to aluminium and steel. And we have seen yesterday the result of that. Technology transfers to rivals such as China, suspension of funds devoted to electric vehicles within the Inflation Reduction Act provisions. There are many ideas and many analyses being carried out, although decisions have to be taken in the weeks to come in many of these files. No, so the impact, all observers share the fact that the impact on Canada will depend on its reaction. That is to say, if Canada retaliate, the domestic impact of such tariffs will be much higher. If Canada retaliates symmetrically, tariffs would have the effect of an inflationary supply shock. Inflation would soar, and the Bank of Canada would have to raise the interest rates. Without retaliation, however, the increase in import prices of Canada is limited, thus leading to less inflation and lower interest rates. That is to say, demand factors would prevail. So full retaliation ends up on high inflation, high interest rates, lower potential output, and lower growth. No, it's important to bear also in mind that these shocks differs from the pandemic. The intensity is lower. When we are talking about 2.5 percentage point, maybe 3, 1, depending on the assessment of percentage points in growth. That is to say, we expect Canada to grow 2%. Maybe we were expecting a sharp, a slight recession, but on the contrary, contrary to the pandemic, the effect will be durable, structural. No? So Canada is at a crossroads, still to be clearly defined. And as I just said, the Canadian domestic political cycle, the future of a rule-based international order that Canada shares, the same as the European Union, the twin transitions, and the free trade agreements that it has agreed on, can have some difficulties. So let's now turn to transportation itself. Here you have some figures concerning transport in Canada. Canada has its peculiarities, not only because of its size. Canada's size is 20 times Spain, with a population of roughly 40 million people, most of them living within 100 kilometers from the southern border. In regulatory terms, things are also different from the Union. For instance, in the railway system, where the passenger transport by railway is marginal compared to the. Sorry, I have an echo problem with the mic. Okay, so. But all in all, the authorities have some strategy, and basically their policies are aimed at achieving a safe and secure transport system, green, sustainable, innovative, and efficient. And such policies are not easy in a federal country with the allocation of decision-making capacity among federal and sub-federal administrations is there. Cities and provinces own 60% of the transportation system, and with all these elements, they must face some challenges regarding safety, regarding the transport of hazardous goods, and cybersecurity, the interprovincial barriers to trade, airfares, lack of competition in some subsectors, insufficient infrastructure capacity, insufficient national transportation corridors, availability of skilled labor, the need for that exchange to increase efficiency, and the fact that 80% of Canadians lives in big cities, and that urban transit remains a major issue, and that's beyond the grasp maybe of the federal government. Also, some other two remarks. The first one is you see here the network of pipelines, difficult to build because of the relationship between federal and sub-federal administrations. But what you see here, and it is also important nowadays, is that it is very deeply interconnected with the US pipeline system, and that the flow of oil from the west to the east, from Alberta to Ontario, runs through US territory and not through Canadian territory, which is an interesting feature as well. When it comes to logistics, you see that the footprint of Canada, according to the World Bank Logistic Performance Index, is the same as Germany. Practically, they rank really high, 7th in this ranking. When it comes to urban transit, here you have some figures on some data as well. You see that Ontario and Quebec dominate transit, national transit trips. Car is by far the main commuting mode in Canada. Here you can see the main urban transit agencies. Montreal's transit agencies appear to have higher usage than Toronto's. Passenger trips are about the same in the two census metropolitan areas, despite Toronto having a population that is 50% larger than Montreal. No? Here, I would like also to highlight the fact that the innovation ecosystem, new business models, when it comes to transportation and mobility in Canada, is very active when it comes to urban transit. When it comes to the automotive industry, here you have, in this slide, you can see the scale. I mean, the main market is China, followed by the US, the EU, and as an individual country, you can see that the importance of Canada there. But you see here that when it comes to electric vehicles, the percentage, the share of cars sold that are electric in Canada is higher, is between 10 and 15% higher than in the US, but below the EU and in particular China. Canada has the critical minerals to build an automotive say a supply chain for the zero emission vehicle, the ZEV, and has implemented very active industrial policies to achieve the localization of that industry in its territory. Canada ranked first in the Bloomberg New Energy Finance ranking as a country with the greatest long-term potential for creation of a battery supply chain, overtaking China for the first time. And it also set the political target of 100% of vehicle sales in the country being of zero emissions by 2035. Canada aligned with the US in imposing high tariffs to ZEV imports from China, far above those imposed by the EU. But this industry now sees with major projects that you can see in this graph two uncertainties. First, the way the Canada, US, and Mexico agreement will revisit the rules of origin as they did in 2019. That's a debate that the three partners in this agreement had, that undoubtedly will have an impact on the localization of suppliers to North America. And the second is tax credits. Because part of this industry has been promoted through massive tax credits at the federal and provincial federal level, trying to keep up with the Inflation Reduction Act and the policies led by Biden in the US. Now, such policies could be reviewed by the Trump's administration, so there's some uncertainty on the impact that could have on tax credits here in Canada as well. On the contrary, you have here a project that whose future is doesn't bear such uncertainties. The high frequency rail project. This project intends to transform passenger rail service in Canada. Is an important project. It will be the largest Canadian infrastructure and transportation project in the 60 years since the Saint Laurent Seaway was built. And this project is ongoing. It will be co-developed by a consortium that has to be decided upon shortly. In the three consortia, there are European, together with Canadian partners, European operators, SNCF, RATP, Renfe, British or Deutsche Bank. There's an important participation of European companies there, and political support is guaranteed given that the House of Commons Standing Committee on Transport, in that committee, both the Liberal and the Conservatives agreed with some differences on 18 propositions that do not question at all the project, but try to improve it. So just let me conclude in saying that the dust needs to settle before being able to distinguish from noise from signals. It will take. We need to know where Canada is heading to in terms of domestic economic cycle. Political cycle, sorry, and we need to know as well which will be the final initiatives adopted by the Trump administration. In spite of that, nobody has doubts on the institutional quality of Canada. EU and Canada are close political and commercial allies. Many member states of the Union and NATO members, the same as Canada. We have the comprehensive and economic trade agreement with Canada. Canada has joined recently the Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe. There are, raw material alliances and the like. It is important in order to look for opportunities in the transportation sector to look at innovation as a gateway to the Canadian market. I want to underline this. The innovation ecosystem of Canada is impressive in terms of national institutes, universities, venture capital funds, and the like. Canada has important infrastructure and mobility needs, and that doesn't change. It has sound economic fundamentals, and above all, let me just point out the presence of big and small EU companies in the sector. In the case of Spain, we have here in this webinar outstanding stakeholders in this respect that have carried out or are carrying out very important projects when it comes to infrastructure, to urban transit, to air navigation, or these kind of things. So basically, EU companies, Italian, French, German, and other, have created a very good footprint in Canada. So that's something important to bear in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ignacio, for that comprehensive overview. Now we are moving on to a very exciting part of our webinar, a panel discussion with representatives from leading European companies who are already operating in Canada. This session will be moderated by Rosa Tijeras. Rosa, I will hand it over to you to lead this panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Álvaro. So as Álvaro said, we are lucky to have today in this companies panel 3 speakers representing 3 companies that are key players in the infrastructure and transportation market in Canada. First of all, we will have López Seco, who is the CEO of Canada and USA at Sener, following by Carlos Planelles, that is the ACCIONA Managing Director for North America, and finally Agustín Villa, who is North Europe and Canada Air Traffic Management Project Manager and Canada Site Manager at Indra. So please, Lope, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosa, and thank you everyone for having us on this event. So I'm just going to speak briefly on Sener and our journey in Canada. So Sener Group, we are a family-owned engineering services group. We have a backlog of 1.35 billion euro 2024, sales of roughly 600 million euros. 87% of our sales of our activities is out of Spain, although we are a Spanish company, but 87% of our activities out of Spain. And we have a task force of approximately 4,000 people. We have 4 main business lines. We have other business lines, but the 4 main business lines are aerospace and defense, mobility, energy, and advanced facilities. In Canada, we have been focused on what we call mobility, which involves railway, urban transit, highways, airports, ports, architecture, and water and environment. This is just a footprint of where we are in Sener, project-wise and office-wise. As you can see, in North America, meaning US and Canada, we are above 130 people now. So in Canada, Sener in Canada, we have a task force of 95 people. Actually, this was end of 2024. We are already 100 people. We had $41 million Canadian dollar sales during 2024. And we work on projects, roughly 250,000 hours, and half of these hours are worked locally by our Canadian team of engineers. So far in Canada, we have completed successfully 25 projects. We are working actually in 15 projects. We have covered 7 cities, 4 provinces, and we have offices right now in 4 locations: Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. This is just a snapshot of where we have the projects right now. We have 2 ongoing projects in Vancouver. We have 3 ongoing projects in Ottawa region, 2 ongoing projects in Quebec, and 5 ongoing projects in Toronto, and 2 ongoing projects in Edmonton. This is geographically the spread of the projects. The reality is that the biggest projects are all in the Ontario region, in Toronto. So this is also a snapshot of the projects that we are involved in GTA, in the Greater Toronto area. They're all rail or transit projects. So we are in Eglinton, in Finch, in Eglinton Extension, in Finch West, in Scarborough, in Ontario Line North, Ontario Line South. We're also in On Corridor projects, which is a rail project that is covering the 7 rail lines of GO Transit. And this is a brief on our trip into Canada, right? So we started 2011 supporting contractors in some RFPs, proposals that they had to prepare for their projects, for their bids. So 2011, 2012, and 14, we were working with contractors. In 2016, we decided to open let's say, to establish Sener in Canada, because one of these projects that we were working with a contractor was going to be awarded in a very short term. And finally, we were awarded in Toronto, the Finch West LRT project, which was our first, let's say, project in Canada that was not related to a proposal stage, okay? After that, we won the REM project in Montreal. We won the Eglinton West project in Toronto. We won some projects regarding independent safety assessors for the LRT project in Ottawa. We also won some independent safety assessor projects in Edmonton. We changed offices. We opened our new offices here in Adelaide, where we are right now. We have our headquarters for the whole Canada region. And we kept on winning smaller or bigger projects. So we acquired some projects in Vancouver. Then we started the RFP phase of Ontario Line South, which led us to a very nice civil contract in Ontario Line South. Before the Ontario Line South project, most of our projects in Canada were related to rail systems. systems integration, communications, track, signaling, OCS projects, okay? And with Toronto, Ontario Line South, we got into our first civil engineering, sort of speak, type of project. Then we got into On Corridor. We started also the Scarborough project. And 2023, we also got into the Ontario Line North, the Portal and Tunnel and Underground Stations project. And in 2024, we won another project in Vancouver for trunk intrusion studies with TransLink. And 2025, we hope to be entering into a very interesting project in continuation of the Scarborough project that we are already working in the implementation phase. And I think I went a little bit too fast. I apologize for that, but this will leave us a little bit more time for question and answers.
No, has been excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Smart Lope, and we'll continue with Carlos on ACCIONA.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting ACCIONA and myself to participate in this event. I'm going to speak a little bit about ACCIONA, who ACCIONA is, or who we are, and our footprint and experience in Canada, briefly, to gain some time. So ACCIONA is a worldwide global leader in sustainability and development of sustainable infrastructure. As you can see, some of the figures last year in 2023, we achieved revenues of about 17 billion euros around the world, with an EBITDA of about 2 billion euros. You can see there is two main divisions in ACCIONA. The two main divisions are the energy. ACCIONA is a world leader in renewable energy development. We build and produce and sell renewable energy around the world, with a large and important presence in North America, both in Canada and in the US. In terms of infrastructure, the company is traditionally been focused on infrastructure market, with over 100 years of history in this sector. We're almost 60,000 employees around the world and growing. Speaking about the world, we have a presence in over 40 countries. Our main markets for ACCIONA are Australia, Europe, and North America. And that's where the bulk of our revenues and our business is concentrated. For the infrastructure division, we have four main business lines: transport, water, cities, and social. Transport ranging from roads, highways, bridges, railways, metros, etc., airports. Water, very focused on water treatment plants, wastewater treatment, and desalination plants. In terms of desalination plants, we're top 3 in the world currently. In terms of cities, as you can see, it's more of the energy management and waste management of the urban landscape of the cities. And social, we do hospitals, university campuses with its management, etc. In Canada, our presence is currently just limited to transport and water. So this is, we started our adventure in Canada in 2001, so it's been 24 years. In this period of time, we've been awarded and have delivered 16 projects, which you can see in the map. The important thing of this map is the geographical location of these projects. You can see we've been very successful in the West, in Vancouver. That's where our headquarters currently is. And we've been awarded several projects through our history in this area. As Lope from Sener said earlier, in Ignacio Mezquita, the biggest markets for infrastructure in Canada is Ontario and Quebec, specifically Toronto, the Great Toronto Area, and the Montreal area, right? But we've been able to achieve good success in the West as well. What you can see here in terms of transportation, and there's not a lot of activity in the central areas, in the prairies or the north. But the Ontario and the Quebec areas right now together are clearly the hotspot of infrastructure investment in North America. So the combined efforts of, let's say, the Ontario in Toronto and the Quebec in Montreal areas in terms of infrastructure investment in development of new rail lines, transit lines, etc., is larger than most states in the US. Okay, so it is currently the hotspot for North America. This is the projects that we're currently delivering for our projects. You can see we're still very focused on the West, but shifting the energy and shifting the success on the East now, specifically in Toronto, and looking to expand in that area because of level of investments that we're seeing there. In terms of our Canadian adventures, we in 2023 we achieved 600 million Canadian dollars in revenues with a backlog of 1.7 billion Canadian dollars. We have over 650 employees, and something that is important to notice, we have in our workforce 44 different nationalities. For those of you that are not familiar with the Canadian market, it's a market that is fairly open to the concept of integration with the immigrant communities. The concept, the Canadian history is very short compared to our history in Europe, and over 60% of the people that live in Toronto, for instance, which is the largest city, have not been born in Canada. Right, so the concept of being a foreigner is very loose in Canada, and that is an advantage for us because you're treated with respect and equality in your business. Okay, and that's it for me today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Carlos. What are numbers? Wow, congratulations. Yes, next speaker is Agustin from Indra. Please, Agustin, the floor is yours.
First, well, good morning in Canada and good afternoon and buenas tardes in Spain or in Europe. Okay, I would like to have to explain a little bit the index. I have two main sections here. First, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. And the second, I'm going to speak about what is the Indra experience in this Canadian market. About me, yes. Okay, I have more than 20 years of experience in project management, 17 years at Indra in the Defense and Security Business Unit. My experience in project is related basically to collaboration agreements, consortiums in the international markets, UK, Germany, and currently in Canada, as part of the ITEC consortium, the Air Traffic Management Business Unit. I hold several certifications and masters in project management, and I have a bachelor degree in aeronautical engineering. Okay, what is the Indra experience in this Canadian market? Let's go to the background. And I'm going to explain what is Indra doing in Canada. Indra mainly has started in the air traffic management market here in Canada about 2 years ago. So the objective is to support our customer, NAV Canada, as Canada's air navigation service provider in the modernization of their air traffic management platforms towards the new trajectory-based operations that will benefit customers and stakeholders as part of their strategic direction. Indra is basically new in this country and this market as well, as part of the Leading the Future strategic plan that is to make Indra the global leader, scaling his position here in North America. Currently, Indra and NAV Canada are in the trajectory-based operation phase 1. So that is support the deployment of a state-of-the-art flight data processing system and air traffic flow management system for complex airspace that as we have here for NAV Canada in the network center. What are the main aspects that we have here? It's a welcoming business environment. It means that everyone is friendly from day zero. Even before starting here in Canada, and the people offered their support. I have a very warm welcome in our customer office. The working environment is sociable. The relationship that we have is quite open and is transparent. It's also a stable and open market because business course is predictable and is economically competitive country. It's also economically and politically stable. As you have, Ignacio has already mentioned, there are now changes. But it's also financially strong, and also is a safe place to live and work. Regarding to skills and workforce, they have a highly skilled workforce. The personnel are highly qualified with universities, studies, and certifications. Canada is a multicultural environment. So what we can say, and Carlos has already mentioned, you can meet many people from around the world here in Canada. One of the cons that we have identified is that there is a shortage of domestic high qualified personnel. And that's why Canada is quite open to hire skilled workers. They also have a pragmatic approach. What is the Canadian organization established hierarchies? Although seniors, managers, all the staff are always accessible, they rely on the employees and team expertise. They share and consult one another, and the information moves freely. So making decisions is quite straightforward. It's also a huge country. If we compare Canada with Europe in this case, in size, we can almost say that they have the same size. And in terms of opportunities, we could say that both countries, they're interested in, if there are companies interested in exploring or entering in these markets, in the Canadian one, they have the same opportunities that you have probably in Europe, or even more, because Europe is an overexploited market. Finally, please move forward. We have sustainability. In the air traffic management market in Canada, we have seen a synergy between Indra, Europe, and Canada. Our customer, the environmental, governance, and sustainability strategy is working to reduce environmental impact on their operations, ensure social responsibility, and also maintain effective governance. In our case, we share 5 out of 6 sustainable development goals in our strategies. At Indra, we are also committed to the United Nations Global Compact and the United Nations 2030 Agenda. So from our corporate actions and our business solutions, we have a direct impact in the following sustainable development goals that you can see on the slide. So as a consequence, customer and us are working hand in hand to make a sustainable world. From my side, this is the end. There is nothing else in the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Agustin. Very interesting, and very interesting the summary that you have done the Canadian market. Yeah. So let's go. We are running a little bit out of time, so I will go directly to some questions to Lope, Agustin, and Carlos. Thank you. So first question, Agustin, for you, based on your experience in North Europe, what are the main difference that you find between the Canadian and the European market?
Well, that is an interesting question. It's hard to compare Canada with Europe because first, Europe, you have different countries, so they are all different, and the way to work is different. We can say that Canada is more like the UK. I'm speaking from my experience and talking about what the market where I have been is defense, and in this case, air traffic management. So also, I have also mentioned some of them in the presentation, that decision making is one of them that we can identify here that is quite quicker. So I'm used to the defense market in Europe, and the defense market, they have a lot of hierarchy. So the decision making is quite slow. In the air traffic management market here in Canada is quite fast. This is one of the major that I have realized that it's more important. And regarding the way to work, basically, Canadian market is like the European market. So people is quite independent. They are looking the success. They are looking for achievements. So basically, there are no major differences.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Next question. How do you see the future of the infrastructure market in Canada? This one could be, for example, for Carlos.
The future infrastructure market in Canada. I am very optimistic about the future infrastructure market in Canada. As I said before, the levels of investment and the need Canada has for resilient infrastructure is huge, and the investment that we're seeing is tremendous. Like Ignacio Mezquita mentioned, we're right now in a period of uncertainty with President Trump and his policies regarding potential tariffs. We hope that the commercial war does not have to happen between Canada and the US. That will be definitely an impact. But even in that situation, we don't see the levels of investment of the government and the different governments, provincial and federal governments, in infrastructure slowing down. It will have definitely some impact on inflation, but in terms of future of infrastructure, in the event that the political environment stabilizes, will continue to be very high. If the political environment worsens, it will probably be higher to kind of reactivate the economy from a possible recession scenario. So I think the advantage of the current situation for the European small and medium companies is clear. As Agustin mentioned, there is a shortage of skilled workforce today. That shortage is only getting worse. So this is a great opportunity for companies from Europe to come, especially small and medium-sized companies from Europe, to come and provide services, because there is a capacity problem in the current market that will probably not improve in the next few years. So the opportunity is there to provide your services with the high-skilled workforce that we have in Europe in this market, and the market will welcome that.
That's excellent for the ears of our attendees. Thank you so much, Carlos. And the last one for you, Lope. Which were the biggest difficulties? Well, we have seen that you have had great success in Canada. You have many projects, but I suppose you had difficulties at the beginning. What were the difficulties for establishment Sener in Canada?
So say basically two. Okay, one is the let's say the cultural differences regarding how you practice engineering and you deliver services in Spain or elsewhere and in Canada. So here we have services in, let's say, what we would call an Anglo-Saxon way, and we have to deal with that. There is no way around it. And which is not bad, it's just different. And then, especially at the beginning, the problem for us was to prove that our engineers had the capabilities required by the market, because most projects require that your key individuals are professional engineers established in Canada, etc. And the process of registering our Spanish engineers into Canadian engineering association is not easy. It's not difficult either, but it takes time and it's long, and they require Canadian experience, so you get into a little bit of a never-ending story. We managed to get through with this with patience and working into projects with the help of partners, etc. And today, the most problem I think we are all facing is that there are not enough, let's say, engineers in the market, and it's not easy to import them because of this registering engineers and homologation of degrees, etc. So this, I would say, are the biggest problems to come into the country. Let's say the know-how, the engineers, the how to manage registering your engineers in the Canadian associations of professional engineers, and the second, the very different approach to projects in engineering that, let's say, Canada has compared to Spain or other countries.
I agree with you completely. So thank you so much. We don't have more time for this panel of companies. Sorry, I will continue talking with you for many hours, but Álvaro, I think we have running out of time, so I will give you the floor, and thank you so much, the three of you.
Thank you very much, Rosa, and to our panelists, Carlos, Lopez, Agustin, for your time and your insightful reflections today. And now we move on super fast to the final part before the Q&A. Please, if you have questions, you can write down on the chat and we will answer you quite fast. Okay, we move on to the last part of the presentation, the resist internationalization activities, the cause of this webinar and this type of activities of the resist Eurocluster for the European SMEs. As we have discussed, the resist Eurocluster has promoted and invest on the internationalization activities for the European SMEs focus on transport, mobility, and automotive across Europe. During 2 years and a half, the Resist Eurocluster project has founded several initiatives and activities of European SMEs to address the challenges of internationalization in non-EU third countries. An example of these countries could be Japan, Korea, United States, UK, South Africa, China, UAE, and Switzerland. We have celebrated several B2B meetings, we have attended to several fairs and conferences, and also to commercial missions. Thanks to this project, the Resist Eurocluster has focused their activities also in the collaboration with entities working in non-EU third countries specialized in internationalization. And with this result, we have finally signed several collaboration agreements and memorandum of understanding with some entities, different Chamber of Commerce, for example, the French Chamber of Commerce in Japan, and also the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Canada, and that's the output of today's webinar, but also other Spanish Chamber of Commerce based in Brazil and in Morocco. So thanks to these collaborations, we have organized several activities, and also we have shared strategic insights of territorial reports and commercial valuable outputs for the European SMEs. Also, finally, we have organized some commercial missions, and one example of this could be the results of the collaboration with the French Chamber of Commerce, that we organized a mission to Japan and to Korea, thanks to PBF, one of the partners and coordinator of the Resist Eurocluster. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your time. And now we move on to the final part of our webinar, that is the Q&A part. Okay, so regarding the questions, I think we have a question from Juan Pablo. Given the importance of legal compliance in this process, would the organizers or the Spanish Chamber of Commerce consider dedicating a space for further discussion on legal aspects of internationalization expansion, open to qualified attorneys from both Europe and Canada? Rosa?
Yes, an excellent idea. And we take note of this, and we can organize another webinar similar to this one. And we have experts in the chamber in legal issues. We can invite them to explain about this. Yes, of course, I take note of this. Yes. Thank you, Juan Pablo.
Thank you for your question and the answer, Rosa. We have another question from Jose Luis, where we take information about law for protection data in Canada. Also, before the answer, Rosa, I'm going to share the last slide where you can see the contact of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Canada and also the contact of the RESIS Eurocluster. Rosa, the question of data information protection. Sorry.
We have to check with our expert. It's not my field of expertise, but we can. Yes, as you mentioned, you can write Jose Luis a mail to this mail, and we can put in contact with our legal companies here in Canada, the members of the Spanish Chamber, and we will answer this question. Yeah, it is worthy to say, as a small company again, my piece of advice for all of you that want to come to Canada is, first of all, hire a lawyer and see all these type of things and before starting anything here in Canada. Yes. Next step is accountant.
Thank you also for those companies that they are sharing their email contact and they offer their support. That's part of the valuable insights and items that we pretend with this type of webinar between the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Canada and the RESIS Eurocluster. Okay, so we are run out of time, 5 minutes more than we planned. So finally, to conclude in a nutshell, thank you again to all our speakers and to each one of you for participating in today's webinar. We hope that you have gained valuable insights into the internationalization opportunities in Canada and how to leverage the support of RESIS and the Spanish Chamber of Commerce to successfully expand into markets. As a reminder, we will be sending out the presentation slides and a link to the recording of today's webinar so you can revisit the information, share and refer to it whenever needed. So if you have any further question or you will want to get in touch for any of the speakers, please feel free to reach out after the event. So thank you once more, and we look forward to seeing you at future events, and have a great day. Thank you very much.